Hey there. So as some of you probably know, um, I'm a bookaholic. My name is Sam, and I love books. I've been reading it for over a month now, unfortunately. It took me way longer than usual to get through, but I just finished Sarah J. Maas's copy of A Court of Mist and Fury, which is a sequel to A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first book was set up as a spin-off twist on the Beauty and the Beast tale, and I really loved that. I loved the characters and how the romance budded, and the idea of sacrifice and what you're willing to do for the people that you love, and what you're willing to go through for them. And she definitely delivered that same message again in Court of Mist and Fury, and the tale changes like crazy. So if you haven't read it or you haven't finished, especially, like if you haven't finished, you need to stop watching now because I'm about to spoil all up in this. So it starts off, you're back with Feyre and Tamlin in Springcourt, fresh from underneath the mountain. And like anyone going through a tragedy and extreme situation like that, they're experiencing a lot of trauma and a lot of stress, and they're trying to figure out how to cope. And in all honesty, they just can't. And they won't let each other, and they can't. And Tamlin is struggling, and Feyre is struggling and wasting away, and um, you start to see a very different side of the characters that you grew to love in A Court of Thorns and Roses. Um, and it was really uncomfortable, actually, in the beginning. And I don't think a book has ever made me feel so uncomfortable before for like what is happening to the characters I love. I think the only other one that did that was Kristen Cashore wrote the book Graceling, and the spin-off Fire, and then the sequel to Graceling, which was several years down the road, 20 some odd years or so down the road, called Bitter Blue. And Bitter Blue was really heart-wrenchingly painful to read. Because of events that happened in Graceling, it was really painful and difficult to read how people in the story that I grew to love were dealing with the aftermath. But Bitter Blue wasn't dealing directly with a lot of the same main characters as Graceling, so it didn't feel as uncomfortable. It was knowing that all these people dealing with all of this trauma and trying to cope were present in Graceling, but they weren't actually there. Like, they were part of the world, but they weren't in the story. So you didn't get to see how events changed them. But in A Court of Mist and Fury, you get to see how being under the mountain and what Amarantha did to them changed Tamlin and changed Feyre, and all the other like major players. And you get to understand people like Rysand a lot more, and you get to know what happens and what the Night Court is like, and I love how Sarah J. Maas plays on our perceptions, that we see and believe a certain thing about people, and that's not necessarily accurate. Sometimes that's just what they're allowing us to see about them, and that people have different masks and different roles for the different types of people they are. Like, you're a different person for your mother versus your like best friend versus your significant other versus teachers versus an acquaintance versus the grocery store clerk. Like, you're not that same person to all of these different people in your life. And you can put on different masks, not in an unhealthy way, but like, I don't hang out with my mother and talk to her and pal around with her in the same way as like some of my best friends or people at work. We have a different sense of humor, and I'm a different person to a certain extent around other people, and that's normal. But I really love the growing building and understanding of the Night Court, where you believed it was this one thing, you believed that it was this terrible, horrible place. and you come to find out it's anything but that. There's a part of it that's that, because that's what it was in the beginning, but it has transformed over centuries to become what Rysand and his people wanted it to be, and that there's just only a very small sect of it that's actually really terrible and lives up to that reputation, but that's the reputation that they let everyone else see, and it protects the Night Court. And it was just kind of really beautiful and heart-wrenching to watch what unfolds, and how the lengths that we're all willing to go to protect the people we care about, and what we're willing to do for the people that we love. And so that was really beautiful. And I can't wait to see what the third book is going to be like, you know, because in the end, for those of you who have finished, and I hope if you're still watching that you have finished, for what happens at the very, very end when they go to get the cauldron and Feyre makes the ultimate sacrifice, the same sacrifice to a degree, like a very similar sacrifice to the one that Rysand made, and you understand Rysand more, and the sacrifice that he made for his people under the mountain, and what he allowed everyone to see in order to protect everyone he loved, and what he endured on their behalf. And Feyre just did the exact same thing by pretending and putting on a facade for Spring Court and Tamlin in particular, and having her go march right back into Spring Court. And I am already on edge and breathless and scared and nervous for how that's going to unfold, for the war that is coming, and for what will happen to the Night Court, and for Rysand and Feyre, and what Tamlin will do, because I think it's really heart-wrenching that we fell in love with Tamlin in A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then to see how tragedy has broken him, and how all of the trauma that was unleashed, especially towards the end of Thorns and Roses, how that has changed who he is as a character, and to watch how that was unfolding in the beginning of Mist and Fury, and see that he didn't know how to love Feyre, and that love can be a balm and love can be a poison. Sometimes you try to do things to care for people and protect people, and it's not really doing that at all. And that's what happens with Tamlin, and it was really uncomfortable to read, to see how a character I'd grown to love is now like the villain of the story. And there's very, very few books I can think of, none that come to mind, because I am still so enraptured and shattered by reading Mist and Fury, that I can't think of any other books where this sort of twist happens, where the hero of the story is suddenly now the villain, and the villain is suddenly the hero, and they have swapped roles entirely. And I think it is phenomenal. It is a testament to her writing and her as an author, that she was able to flip-flop them like this, and that sometimes we're blinded by people, and other times we find the people that we need in our lives, and we would do anything for them. And that's why I love her books so much. So if you have not read any Sarah J. Maas books, she also does Throne of Glass, which is another one of my favorite series. You definitely need to read her books, like, now. Like, literally stop, walk away from your phone, your computer, what have you, wherever you are watching this video, stop what you're doing, and go to your nearest bookstore, your library, wherever the heck you get your books. Amazon's not going to take long enough, in all honesty, unless you, like, can get Amazon Prime now, or, like, one-day shipping, or whatever. You need to get her books now, and you need to go and sit down and read them, and, like, request the week off work and just go through and plow through all of them, because they're amazing and I love them. She is one of my favorite authors. She's one of the first people that I recommend in terms of authors, along with Cinda Williams Chima's book with the Demon King, the Seven Realms novels, and now I'm reading the Shattered Realms novels, which is a whole other topic. I'll have to make a video about that at some point too, but for right now, check out Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thorns and Roses is the first book you need. Her other series, Throne of Glass, is the first book is called Throne of Glass. So go and get those, check them out, and pick yourself a box of tissues while you're at it, because you might very well need them. Alright, so that's all I have to say, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye. If you're looking for other book recommendations, definitely drop a comment, and I will more than gladly help you out. So have a great day. Bye.